Hello, hello. Welcome to the Easy E and Scuba Steve show here on Monday, July 16th, 2018. Alongside me, Easy E.
What's good? What's good?
Today we'll be talking about just the World Cup final, recapping how all that went down. Deserving favorite winning the World Cup. The home run derby odds for tonight. The odds for the All-Star game. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Eric's best bet is going to be from the All-Star game. We'll talk about some NFL win totals, the over-under odds on those, some MVP odds, and much more. But first, famous decks. Sorry for the little phone call in the background. Just doing this in the family room. The phone is right next to us, so we do janky things like that on our show. Just have the phone right next to our studio.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah. Anyway, let's get started on the show. The World Cup final was just yesterday, and it was France versus Croatia. A few of us believe that France were going to make it. I mean, they have a really good team. They had a little revenge on their mind or a bit of a chip on their shoulder after the disappointment that they had in the Euros a couple of years back. And they won it 4-2 against the miracle team in Croatia led by Luka Modric, who won the golden ball of the tournament. Then Kylian Mbappe won the Young Players Award. Thibaut Courtois winning Golden Glove. Harry Kane winning the Golden Boot Award. Easy E, your thoughts about the World Cup final and just the tournament in general?
I think the final yesterday just showed the difference in quality between the two teams. I mean, that was the first real beastly team that Croatia faced, in my opinion. I mean, Croatia made it to the final, like all credit to them, but the best team they faced all tournament was England, which really hadn't been on the big stage before. They faced Denmark and Russia in the 2 rounds before that, which is a pretty easy path to a World Cup final and not having to face any of the big boys. And then Argentina, extremely disappointed in their group as well. For me, this was a great World Cup. Although the winner is France, in my opinion, up until the final, they were just solid. I thought they defended well, and they scored when they had to. I didn't think they were overly spectacular, but they showed their class and their skill yesterday in the game versus Croatia. So all credit to France. Really happy for guys like Pogba, Mbappe, Lloris, guys who have had some ups and downs with the French national team, but they got their reward yesterday.
Yeah, I think France... as we started getting closer and closer to this final, we started seeing teams getting weeded out. Again, Brazil continuing to struggle in this World Cup and previous World Cups. Like they haven't made it to the final since they won it in 2002. And then you look at teams like Spain; they are just way too conservative throughout the tournament. They deservedly got beat by the hosts in Russia. Uruguay, a little unfortunate with them with the injury to Cavani.
That's still a good tournament for them, though, making it to the quarterfinals.
Exactly. No, I agree. But with Cavani healthy, it is a closer, more competitive match against France in the quarterfinal. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I also think, too, that Brazil would have given France a much bigger scare than Belgium would have.
And the team that actually came to play really is Belgium. People have been writing off Belgium for years as a very underproducing team, an overrated team, a team that continues to disappoint in major tournaments. But they did a terrific job in this World Cup. Even though they could have won it in my opinion. They're a very talented squad. I thought they had a chance.
They also could have lost in the round of 16 too. They were down 2-0 to Japan. So, in my opinion, they still do have their inconsistencies, but I think they were much more consistent than they have been over past big tournaments. So
Yeah, they'll take a third place finish in the World Cup, and they'll still have a majority of these guys with one more World Cup in them, with Lukaku, with De Bruyne, with Eden Hazard. For their club futures, a little bit of a hazy view there for a bunch of those guys, especially with Hazard, with the comments he made after the third place match. But it's going to be interesting to see like how these teams bounce back. Teams like Brazil, who with this kind of this golden era of players with Neymar, with Firmino, with Gabriel Jesus, with Marcelo, and a bunch of other guys I can name. Is this the best we're going to get from this Brazil side?
No, I don't think so. I think they still have one more chance to prove themselves. I think they'll at least get to the semifinals in 2022. But a way too early projection for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar is for France to exit the group stage. I think the trend continues, and it would be 5 out of 6 defending champions fail to make it past the group stage in the 2022 World Cup. I think that'll happen.
Yeah, one more. I have just one more question for you, Eric. I have a bit of a concern with FIFA's decision to not only have the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar. We all know about the scandal that arose from that decision. But now, just recently, before the final started between France and Croatia, FIFA announced that the 2022 World Cup will be taking place during the winter time. It will be taking place from mid-November to mid-December, which cuts into everybody's domestic season, the Champions League, the Europa League. I mean, I'm not really caring about the Europa League much, but it'll definitely have an effect on a club's chances of advancing to the knockout stage. This is a huge chunk of time that you're taking away from club season, and that could be the difference between a team or a club that would be favorites to win the Champions League. They could exit the groups. They could be out of the Champions League via the group stage because of one match that they didn't have all their guys in.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it should be in Qatar anyway. It's such a small country. I really think they're going to have problems supporting a big event like this. I mean, thousands of fans travel from around the world for this event, so I think they'll have trouble there. And also, I'm not a fan of how this tournament is being run, and what I mean by that is how the stadiums are being built. More importantly, the labor. I mean, I'm not sure if our listeners have seen the ESPN documentary on how the labor is done there and how basically workers from poor countries such as India and some countries in Africa are going to Qatar for work, but these workplaces are like slave camps in the way that they're treated. They hand their passports in, and they don't get them back because they're forced to work for less than minimum wage, and just health-wise, it's total crap. I mean, I'm not a fan of it at all. There have been several hundred deaths already, and for me, it just puts a little bit of a stink on this whole World Cup in 2022.
Yeah, and we're 4 years away from it. Like, we just finished up with the 2018 World Cup, and we're just having a bunch of issues regarding the 2022 World Cup. I'm already looking forward to the 2026 World Cup because we have pretty much everything is ready to go. In 8 years' time, just a bunch of things will have to be upgraded. And technology is going to improve. Training facilities are going to have to be, up to code. But that's not really a big issue, especially in the United States, in Canada, in Mexico. That's like the least of our concerns right now. We have the stadiums to host these matches. And not only that, like, there'll be some more stadiums up and going that we don't know about yet. In 8 years' time, New stadiums, maybe for Kansas City, the Chiefs. The Arrowhead Stadium's a little old. I think they need a new one. I think that maybe a new football stadium in Oakland to replace the O'Donnell Coliseum would be very beneficial to the Bay Area's exposure with the World Cup. Already they'll have Levi Stadium for sure hosting some matches. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. But let's transition. Let's go from the World Cup. Let's go on to American football. Let's go to American football. Let's go to actual football here. Let's talk about some NFL win totals. The over-under odds on that, they just came out just recently. Let's talk first about the division winners from last season. Let's see how Vegas, kind of views those reigning division winners for this upcoming season. The first team, let's talk about the team that won the Super Bowl. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll be out. They'll be without Carson Wentz for the first few games or so of the season. He's still recovering from that torn ACL. Their over/under for wins on the season is 10, over at -130, under at even.
This is a really tough one because they won 13 games last year, right? They were 13-3.
Yep.
I mean, if it was 10.5, I would go under here just because I think Super Bowl regression, not as much motivation the year after winning the Super Bowl. Also, you must take into account the first place schedule that they'll be playing with. What I mean by that is, since they finished first in the division last year, they'll be playing a lot of the division winners from last year, and which means that the schedule will be harder. Also, you have to take into account other teams' improvement. I think 10 is honestly a really good number for this. I think they'll be right around 10 wins. But for me, 10 wins, that's really hard to bet on. Although they do a very tough schedule, just looking at
it. Yeah, I agree with you in some parts, and I disagree with you on other parts. I'm looking at the first 4 games of the season for the Eagles, just like assuming that Carson Wentz won't be back for the first 3 or 4 games. You're taking on the Falcons at home. That should be a win, in my opinion. It'll be a tough match. It'll be very close. But at home, I still love the Eagles' defense. They actually got better on the defensive end, adding especially Michael Bennett, Sidney Jones, their first-round pick from a couple years back, who's injured for the most of last season. He's a great player. I think he makes an impact on the defensive end. The defense is going to really have to carry a big chunk of the load for the Eagles to start the season because they don't have Carson Wentz. Nick Foles can only do so much, not as much as what Carson Wentz can do. So against the Falcons, I see that as a win. They'll be taking on the Buccaneers.
I will say one thing. Remember last year when Kansas City went into New England and won on opening night? I'm pretty sure that is going to be the opening night of the NFL season, Falcons and Eagles this year. Could you potentially see the same scenario happening where no one's giving the Falcons any chance to go into Philadelphia and win, and then they go into Philadelphia and shock everyone? I just think it's somewhat of a possibility just because.
Oh, yeah, of course. The Eagles are going to be in the Super Bowl hangover. They really are.
I really think Atlanta had a lot of chances to win that divisional game last year in the playoffs. I mean, there are a lot of things working in the Eagles' favor, other than the fact that Wentz was hurt. The weather was really cold, which allowed them to run the football more and rely on their defense a lot more. It also limited the Falcons' passing attack. I don't know. I think that's a possibility that the Falcons can surprise a lot of people and grab that one on the road.
So, in my opinion, I can see the Eagles going 3-1 or 4-0 in the first 4 games of the season. I mean, you're taking on the Buccaneers. So Falcons, that's more of a toss-up. For example, hypothetically, let's make that as a loss. Hypothetically. Okay. Buccaneers at Tampa Bay, no Jameis, no win. No win for the Buccaneers.
Who's starting for Tampa? We don't even know, right? Who's starting for Tampa Bay in that game?
No.
It doesn't really matter, really. But
I mean, it's just the Buccaneers season could just go from bad to worse if Jameis doesn't really do his part once he comes back. I mean, the guy has just been a complete bust as a first overall pick.
He's just been really inconsistent.
I mean, you have
a lot of off-field issues.
Ryan Fitzpatrick would be your backup.
Oh, okay, that's an Eagles victory.
Yeah,
that guy's a turnover machine.
Then you're taking on the Eagles at home. That's a win for the Eagles.
Wait, who at home?
The Colts, Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, Colts on the road, they're not nearly as good as they are at home. Even with Andrew Luck back.
And then a week 4 against the Titans, I still like the Eagles in that one. So worst case scenario, they go 3-1. Best case, they go 4-0, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, Carson Wentz comes back, hopefully for that Vikings match in week 5 for their 5th game, and then from there on, it's a little difficult for the Eagles, but I think they can overcome it. They play the Jaguars on the road. They play the Saints on the road.
That's no.
They take on the Rams on the road. But the thing is, like, the Eagles they'll have Carson Wentz back. So, in my opinion, I actually do like over 10. If anything, they will push, but
yeah,
I think they'll get to 11, 12 wins on the season. I don't see that much of a regression or digression. Regression.
Yeah.
I don't see that much of a regression with the Eagles as I see with the Vikings. With the
Vikings,
season.
I'm huge on their regression. Yeah, because I think the Vikings. I mean, they played a lot of close games last year. I think I haven't done my research yet, my proper research for football yet, and in the next week or two when we have our next show, I'll have more information on this. But I always like to look at teams who did really well in one-score games the year before, because that usually means the year after that they regress to the mean a little bit. And there's one.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that for the Raiders last year.
Oh, I was literally about to bring up the Raiders. I think they were 7-1 in one-score games in 2016. They finished, I think, 11-5, and then completely regressed to the median this year. And I think finished either 7-9 or 8-8. So I like the Vikings to regress for sure, and I like the Packers. As much as I hate the Packers being a Bears fan, I like the Packers to win that division.
Vikings, their over/under from Vegas is 10 straight up. Over is -120. The under is -110. That one, yeah, and the Vikings is going to be more difficult for them to defend their division title with Rodgers being back and healthy. I still think the Lions are a decent team. They're not a playoff team. I don't think Matt Patricia has enough up his sleeves.
That defense was horrible last year for the Patriots.
That's the thing. That is true. But also, just one matchup I really like: the Patriots playing Detroit early in the season.
That's a thing? Really?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's like week 3 or week 4 that the Lions host the Patriots, and I can see a Detroit victory. Just from what Patricia knows about the Patriots, I mean, he's been a part of that system for years. The Patriots are historically a team that they get better as the season goes on. You can look back to last year, losing to the Panthers at home, losing to the Chiefs at home. With the team against the Lions, I like their offense. At home, they're a good team at Ford Field. Honestly, as we get closer to that game, I'll consider that as an upset pick for the Lions to beat the Patriots.
Yeah, we'll move on in a second, but I'm a Bears fan, so I know a good amount of information about the NFC North, and to me, the Lions are just one of those teams that can never get out of their own way. They always have the dumbest turnovers, like the dumbest penalties on them in crucial moments.
I think
it could happen, but.
All right, so one of my safest picks. I mean, let's transition from division winners. I mean, we have a feeling that the last year's division winners, so the Rams, I think that they'll be around the same mark they were at last year. The over/under for the Los Angeles Rams, with all the additions they made, especially on the defensive end of the ball, their odds are at 9.5. But those odds are at -160. I'd say that's a stay away. I think they will go over. That will hit.
If you're
but it's not a value. It's not a value.
If you're comfortable with -160, go over.
Yeah.
I would say that.
I mean, I just don't like the under either. I don't see a huge regression from the Rams. I think they're still a playoff team.
The Cardinals will be worse than last year. The Seahawks will be worse than last year. Niners will be better. Steven thinks they're a year away. I think they could potentially be a wild card team this year with Jimmy G, but we'll have to wait and see. I really liked what they did what Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy G did at the end of the year last year. I think the only game they lost with Jimmy G starting was the last game when, or no, did they finish out their regular season like 5-0, 6-0?
5-0.
But you also have to take into account that the Rams were resting all their starters in that Week 17 game.
Jacksonville Jaguars they won the division for the first time in like a decade or so. Over under 9 regular season wins. Over is at -125.
I think that's a stay away. I'm just saying that the defense,
the division is getting more difficult. Luck is back for the Colts.
Watson's
back for the Texans. Titans.
They're always around 500, 9 wins, about there. I think.
I just need to see a little bit more from Mariota. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I agree there, but I don't trust Blake Bortles to have 2 consecutive seasons where he limits the turnovers and makes good decisions with the football. I mean, if they're a Leonard Fournette injury away from having real issues on offense, and there's only so much the defense can do if they're out in the field for so much time. Because Leonard Fournette, with him, they're able to play keep away from a lot of teams, and it means that their defense is rested. I mean, their defense is great overall, but the defense gets worse if they're out there for 40 minutes a game. You saw that with the Denver Broncos last year. What do you think, Steven?
I think the Jaguars go under. Just we were just talking about.
If there was one way I'd go under.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's talk about a few more of the picks after this commercial break. Please tune in back to the Easy E and Scuba Steve show in a couple of minutes.
We may not be able to lower the cost of gas, but we can do something about how many miles you will drive per gallon. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store today and let us help you increase the performance of your car or truck. Simple things like replacing your air filter, changing worn-out spark plugs, and using fuel injector cleaner can add up to better fuel economy and big savings. There's an O'Reilly Auto Parts store close to you that has the name brands, low prices, and people who can help.
Restore lost fuel economy and eliminate rough idle with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 2 and get 1 free. Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner quickly cleans clogged injectors to increase fuel efficiency and help your vehicle run smooth. Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner, buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, Tom Bodette. Motel 6's new improved website lets you book a room and save more for what you travel for faster than ever. Even faster than you can find your keys, which you swore were right on the little hooky thing by the garage door where they always are, and we can land a robot on a comet, but we can't keep keys from disappearing. Oh, here they are. Left them in my jacket. Don't you hate that? I'm Tom Bodette for the new improved Motel6.com, and we'll leave the light on for you.
And we're back on the Easy E and Scuba Steve show. Thank you for tuning in. Beautiful day outside, Monday, July 16th. We're getting closer to a move-in day for myself to go back to Arizona. And at that point, we'll figure out the dynamics of the show from there on in.
Probably some phone calls.
I was thinking maybe Skype as well. We can see what works for us. We would like to continue doing shows on Mondays. It'll just be easier on us beginning of the week. Even though we'll have a few homework assignments, we'll probably keep the shows a little bit shorter at that point. But we will try to stay as committed as possible to the shows. Let's just look at a couple more of the NFL total wins, the over-under odds. We were just talking about that before the commercial break. Let's talk about the winners from the NFC. Let's talk about the NFC. No, we talked about the Eagles already.
Yeah.
Let's actually talk about the Cowboys,
Yeah.
for that matter, because America's team always needs to get talked about. Let's talk about the Cowboys. Over under 8.5 wins. Ezekiel Elliott's back from his whole debacle throughout the entire last season. I kind of like over.
Me too.
It'll be tight for the Cowboys. I like their defense. The only problem is one of their key defensive players, I think he's going to be out for the first month or so of the season.
PEDs,
Yeah, exactly.
of course.
Over 8.5 wins at plus 105. I kind of like this. I mean, they'll put up a challenge with the Eagles. They won't. I don't think they'll win the division, but they will be in the race for a wild card spot. I can see them above 500 at about 9-10 wins.
Yeah, I think actually 8.5 is way too low. I mean, they won 13 games the year before. Granted, they were good in those one-score games I talked about. They had some injuries last year. Prescott declined a little bit, but I think Prescott has a bounce-back year. I think he's a very smart quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott being there for the full year will help a lot. The only concern is you're relying on Jason Garrett, which I never really like to do because I don't think he's that good of a coach. But over 8.5 at underdog value, I think that's a good pick.
And then finally, let's just talk about, before we transition on to some talk about the NFL MVP discussion, let's talk about the over-under odds for the Steelers. They're heavy favorites to win the AFC North again. Over-under 10 wins, minus 150 for the over. If you're looking for value here, I go over. If anything, you have a push. I mean, they're winning. They're playing 6 division games on the season. I say they win 5 of them.
Yeah, that's a safe number.
Yeah, it's 5 of them. So I like 10. If anything, you push. But
Yeah.
they don't have single digit wins this year.
Yeah, I think the thing that you just have to monitor in this situation is Le'Veon Bell and how many games he's going to play, because he's a huge part of their offense. With that being said, you still have Big Ben, you still have Antonio Brown. The defense was really good. They're very young. Those continue to get better. I like 10 wins for this team. I honestly think they'll have a chip on their shoulder as well because of their disappointing divisional exit to the Jaguars. Nobody saw that coming last year.
I did.
So, really?
Yeah, I remember being with my uncle as like a Steelers fan for life. It was like week 5 or week 6 of last season, and the Jaguars completely embarrassed the Steelers. So I was like,
Big Ben threw 5 picks.
Yeah, Big Ben threw 5 picks that game, and I remember going to that AFC divisional game, turning it on. I was like, I don't have a lot of confidence in the Steelers. They're kind of like Brazil, like bought a lot of big names, a lot of hype around them, and then they disappoint early in the playoffs. And they showed it against the Jaguars, who they deserve to beat the Steelers, and they deservedly put up a good fight against the Patriots eventually in the AFC title game. But I like over 10 wins.
Yeah, I think 10. I think you at the very least get a push. So I like that a lot.
Honestly, I throw $100 on that. That's honestly a safe pick. Even though the minus 150 isn't very favorable to the bettor, it's a little bit more favorable to Vegas. I throw $100 on that. That's like probably the safest over/under pick you can have. And literally the worst thing that can happen is injuries. And if AB gets hurt, that'll be bad. That'll be terrible.
I think it's worse if Big Ben gets hurt. Yeah.
I mean, your backup is a guy that used to play for Oklahoma. Was it not?
Landry Jones?
Yeah, Landry Jones.
Yeah.
He's not good.
I hate
at
Oklahoma. So, yeah.
All right. So let's transition on from we'll talk a little bit more. If you have any requests for us to talk about certain teams as the NFL season gets closer and closer to kickoff, just let us know on the comments section of this episode. Let's talk about the MVP odds. There's a whole list of players with a bunch of odds. Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, defensive players. We even saw Des Bryant on the MVP list, which was just atrocious. I mean, he's not even on
signed for the
no.
team.
He rejected the offer that the Baltimore Ravens had, and he's still a free agent. So I don't know what Vegas is doing on their part.
There should be a Des Bryant prop.
Yeah, like which team? Like, is he going to play for a team at the beginning of the season?
I think he'll find a team before the year. If I had to pick one team, it'd probably be the Redskins, but that's for another day, though.
So there's a list of about 20 to 25 players, and Eric and I before the show we kind of filtered the list down to 8 different players and then the field, just for the off chance that some random guy wins the MVP. So we broke down Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, Drew Brees, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, and Tom Brady. The reason why we have no wide receivers, like no Antonio Brown, no Odell Beckham Jr., no J.J. Watt, no like defensive players, is because that's not how it works. Like MVP voting over the last decade has only gone to quarterbacks and running backs. Unless you're Jerry Rice, I don't think that trend changes this upcoming season.
Yeah, I was gonna throw Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr. in there in the discussion, but after seeing the trends that have been going on for so many years, I don't think it's smart to put those guys in there. So
like honestly, our best bet, if you're trying to bet on anything regarding the NFL MVP, you will lose money if you pick a wide receiver or a defensive player. Don't do it. Don't do it. The odds are nice. Antonio Brown is plus 2,500 to win MVP. Those are nice odds, but he's not going to win it. I'm telling you now, he's not going to win it. So we broke it down to 5 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, and then the field. Honestly, my dark horse this year is Deshaun Watson. If he stays healthy, it'll be. And if the Texans do well, if they win the division and make it to the playoffs,
I think that's the least. I think that's the very least they have to do in order for Deshaun to have a chance.
They have to make it to the playoffs.
They have to win their division. I think that would really help.
If they win the division, then he's definitely in the contention, like in the top 3. If they just make it to the playoffs as a wild card, he'll be probably top 5. Because MVP voters, they look at stats and then they also look at like how your team does, and that's why they love Tom Brady so much. Your team always makes it to the playoffs.
Cam Newton a few years ago, 13 wins.
Yeah, they take that into consideration. They like a leader, the guy that's the actual most valuable player. Not like in the NBA, like the MVP goes to the guy that puts up, the most dazzling stats, which is really bad. I think, in my opinion, on a different story for a different day. But all I'm going to say is, if Harden was not on the Rockets would still be a playoff contender with CP3.
Yeah, but it's tough though because he's one of the better ball handlers in the league, and as much as I don't like Harden and his flopping, I do think he was really good in the regular season. Very good passer. They're not nearly as good, which is CP3 on that team.
So the favorites to win the NFL MVP for these odds is Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, plus 500 for the both of them. Carson Wentz at plus 800, and everybody else is pretty wide open from there on. The field is plus 1,200. Deshaun Watson, we were talking about him. He's at plus 1,500. Russell Wilson is at plus 1,500. That's one of my biggest stayaways from the MVP conversation. I'm not doubting that he's a great player. I've always liked Russell Wilson. He has hurt both the Raiders and the Niners in his career, but the thing is, just the team is just getting worse and worse. And I think they won 7 or 8 games last season. I forget, but it's not going to get better. It really is not going to get better for the Seattle Seahawks. They were 9-7 last year. They will have a below 500 record, and it's not going to be because of Russell Wilson. I'm telling you now, it's going to be because of the offensive personnel around Russell Wilson. It's going to be the poor defensive unit that the Seattle Seahawks now offer with their overpaid old players. No Michael Bennett, no Richard Sherman. Isn't like Cam Chancellor about to retire?
He retired.
He already retired.
Yeah.
Earl Thomas is near retirement. Seahawks, they have no one else from their Super Bowl winning team. They won the Super Bowl. They've relied on them ever since then, thinking that they would they'll continue to have a shot. You know, they came up against the Falcons a couple years back, got ran by the Falcons, and ever since then it's just been disappointing.
Of the favorites, I like Aaron Rodgers the most, and that pains me to say as a Bears fan, but I think
it's comeback season for Rodgers.
I think he has a major chip on his shoulder after being hurt for the majority of last year with that, I think, collarbone injury. So, I mean, I like Rodgers to win the MVP. I think plus 500. It's not great odds compared to the rest of the players on that list, but I do think he has a very good chance to win the MVP. Major chip on his shoulder, and I think the Packers have a big bounce back year in what could be Aaron Rodgers last year in Green Bay.
You think so?
I know he's not happy with like the front office decisions and the personnel decisions. I mean,
and Mike McCarthy.
Yeah,
He's had some run-ins with McCarthy.
How good has Aaron Rodgers been? They've never had a good defense, you know? Like, I think maybe he'll get fed up with that after this year. But we'll just have to wait and see. I think the Packers need to do well, though, to convince Rodgers to be a Green Bay Packer. And that would be good for the Packers, too, because they've had a legacy of having great quarterbacks, and Rodgers absolutely fits that mold. It just really depends on how the front office does.
When we come back, we'll talk about the odds for the home run derby matchups from the first round. We'll talk about all four of those matchups. We'll discuss a bit about the All-Star game. The lineups have just been released. We'll talk about who has the advantage in the Midsummer Classic tomorrow. And then we'll have our best bets here on the ETE and Scuba Steve Show on the National Sports Radio Station.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the Wacky Waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the Wacky Waterfall.
It's a shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com, then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Hey, Thirst, can I try out a few Coke Summer sound effects on you? Yes. Cool. You okay with this? Yes. And this? Yes. And what about this? Yes. Ha! Gotcha there, Thirst. That wasn't sound effects. That was a Coke. I'm no longer thirsty. You're so out of here. Coca-Cola. Open happiness.
You're at a restaurant just after a meal. The bill comes.
Sir, here's your bill.
Oh my gosh, it's a whopping amount. You pass it on to the next person.
Hey!
He passes it on and on.
Why?
Nobody likes unpleasant surprises. Well, why should you? With the new Huts Delight meals, you won't get any surprises in your bill. Just pure value. Enjoy your favorites every day, from pizzas, pastas to sides and drinks, from as low as 14 ringgit per person. Available for dine-in only.
Let's move our way to the MLB All-Star Game, some picks. First, let's talk about the Home Run Derby. Interesting lineup and matchups on hand for one of baseball's most exciting events. So Bryce Harper, obviously, is the headliner for this event. Hometown guy for the Nationals. He's the heavy favorite at plus 250 to win the home run derby. For me, like I'll give you the stage. I'll give you the mic for a sec to talk about the home run derby. But I'll start with Bryce Harper plus 250 is not a good pick for the home run derby.
No, I think I agree. I think that's terrible value. I think he'll have too much pressure at home. I mean, I see the other side of the argument where he's used to that park. He takes batting practice there 81 games of the year, and he hits there 81 games of the year. But I think he'll have too much pressure, and he honestly hasn't been that good for this year. So
I totally agree. Bryce Harper, he'll win his first-round matchup against Freddie Freeman. Just stay away from that first-round matchup between Freddie Freeman and Bryce Harper. Harper is heavy favorites at minus 255. Freeman is at plus 215. There's no value. There's no point in going for the underdog and Freddie Freeman at that point. So Harper goes through in that first matchup. Second matchup, let's talk about. He'll face the winner of Javier Baez versus Max Muncy. And I think that is the best value pick in the home run derby in the first round. I like Javier Baez at plus 135 against Max Muncy.
Yeah, go Cubs, go. Big fan of Javi Baez.
That's probably the worst thing you've ever said on the show.
I think it's the best.
No. Just keep going.
I'm gonna be pulling for Javi Baez and Kyle Schwarber. It would be really cool if they met in the finals, 2 Cubbies in the finals. That would be awesome for Cubs baseball. But, yeah, I like the Baez pick. Muncy's never really been in the spotlight before, so I think he'll struggle. And I honestly do like Kyle Schwarber to win the whole event at plus 450. I mean, look, like the dude just rakes. I mean, he hits so many long balls, it's not even funny. He can hit to all fields, all sides of the park. He doesn't have to pull the ball necessarily to be a good hitter. And, yeah, I just think he has maybe not the most power, but the most consistent power in that group. And, yeah, Kyle Schwarber plus 450.
For me, so going back to the Bryce Harper argument, you look at like Giancarlo Stanton. He participated in the home run derby last year in Miami, and how much of a disappointment he was. I don't think he made it out of the first round.
Yeah. I think
so I'm not saying pick on Freddie Freeman because that was the case last year with I think he faced Aaron Judge in the first round. Though.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so like Aaron Judge is obviously going to destroy that. I wish I bet on that. Just throw like $100 on Judge at the end of the day. So we have Bryce Harper versus Javier Baez in that first matchup. And that was in bracket 2. In bracket 1, where the number 1 seed Jesus Aguilar is taking on Rhys Hoskins. Aguilar is at minus 165 to win that matchup as of right now, and I have Aguilar not only winning that matchup, but to actually win the home run derby. I have him at plus 500. Aguilar with the most power. I like right-handed batters at Nationals Park. It's a little bit more favorable to them than left-handed batters. I like him to win. I threw some money on him to win his first-round match at minus 160, and for him to win the entire thing. Again, Javier Baez, his odds now are at plus 135. I picked Baez at plus 125. These odds have just been up and down throughout the entire day. And Kyle Schwarber, he was like minus 170 when I woke up this morning. He's now at minus 215.
Oh, God.
So he's starting to lose some value as a bettor's pick. Alex Bregman is becoming more of the maybe the underdog pick, but I still don't like that at all.
I don't think he has enough power, but we'll see.
So semifinal matchup, it'll be Aguilar against Schwarber, and then Harper against Baez in that matchup. I still like Aguilar against Schwarber. I do, and that's kind of like the matchup that is tearing us apart here.
Yeah, I mean, you picked Aguilar. I picked Schwarber.
Well, you have the more the biased view. There's no Giants players on here, so I'm seeing this with more of a clear a clearer vision than you.
but
A
also-
little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, but both,
You have two of your Chicago Cubs in the
both
Home
those
Run
guys
Derby.
have. I don't think Baez is making it past the second round. I'll say.
Yeah,
that.
I'm not. I will not be happy if Baez wins this, or if any Cub wins the Home Run Derby.
Hey, that would be great for the city of Chicago. Represent.
All right, so then the final. So you have Schwarber and I'm guessing Harper.
Yeah, because I don't think Baez will get past the second round. I think his swing takes too much energy, so I can see him tiring out in the second round.
Yeah, put all of his energy, put all the eggs in the basket in the first round.
That'd be great for us.
Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic for us. I might as well put more money on Baez at plus 135 at this point, a little bit more value. So, and then finally, let's talk about the Midsummer Classic, the actual game tomorrow at 5:15. That's first pitch start time. National League versus the American League. American League currently the slight favorites at minus 135 to beat the National League. The lineups and the starting pitchers have been announced just recently for this match. I'll just run it down really quickly. So for the visiting American League, it'll go down. Mookie Betts will lead off in right field from the Red Sox. Jose Altuve, second base, Astros. Mike Trout, center field, Angels. JD Martinez, DH for the Red Sox. Jose Ramirez, he's had a great year so far for the Indians. Even though they've been they've been below expectations so far. Very pedestrian, and their division is just atrocious this year.
Yeah.
The Indians are the only team above 500. Then Aaron Judge in left from the Yankees. Machado at shortstop. Right now on the Orioles, but do you see him leaving the Orioles
Yes,
by the trade deadline?
Absolutely.
Really, you think he's more of he can be more of a rental support or a rental help to a team, and then get the big money in the offseason?
Well, the Orioles just know that they're going to lose him for nothing in the offseason if they don't get something for him. So I think they want to get something from Machado. They don't want to lose him for literally zero in the offseason. So and I think some team will be willing to trade for some help. Like maybe the Brewers, who, they've looked good this year and maybe want to compete to win the National League pennant, maybe win the World Series. So I see the Orioles getting a pretty good haul for Machado. I really do.
Do you see Machado going to Los Angeles? But the thing is, the only problem I have with that is that Corey Seager is your main shortstop in LA. The only reason why he's out is because he had Tommy John early in the season. He's not coming back. So would the Dodgers give up a few of their minor league prospects for Machado for a couple months and then have Seager back, and then Machado goes off somewhere else?
I don't know. I view this whole Machado thing as like the Aroldis Chapman from 2 years ago, where the Cubs traded a bunch of their top prospects to get Chapman. And one of them was actually Gleyber Torres, who's having a really good year for the Yankees.
Yeah, and then the Yankees just got Chapman
back. They just re-signed him after. Yeah, so, I think the situation may be a little different, but I'm comparing that just based on the 1 year rental and Machado probably leaving whichever team he gets traded to in the offseason.
So going back to the American League lineup, so Judge 6, Machado 7, Jose Abreu is your starting first base in the American League, batting 8th, and then Salvador Perez, Kansas City catcher, the lone bright spot with that Royals team this year. He is batting 9th. And your starting pitcher is not Luis Severino, is not Blake Snell, it is Chris Sale.
Or even Verlander.
Yeah, and even Verlander. Chris Sale, for the second consecutive season, will be the starting pitcher out of the American League. This is actually the third straight start for Sale, and that hasn't happened to anyone else since the 1950s, where Lefty Gomez and Robin Roberts were the two other guys to start 3 straight All-Star games. It's a pretty special thing going on for Chris Sale. Let's go down to the National League, the home team. Javier Baez, you kind of question how much energy he's going to have in the tank tomorrow after his participation in the Home Run Derby coming pretty soon.
He's going down swinging. He's definitely
if there are odds on the first at bat for Javier Baez, I'll throw a good amount of money on him striking out against Sale.
It's either that or an extra base hit, in my opinion.
So Baez, second baseman from the Chicago Cubs, he is leading off in the National League. Then it goes down like this: third baseman Nolan Arenado from the Rockies, The DH will be Paul Goldschmidt from the Diamondbacks. Freddie Freeman, first baseman from the Braves. The return of Matt Kemp to the All-Star game, his first selection since, I believe, 2012. He is starting in left. Nationals home guy Bryce Harper in center. Nick Markakis, his first selection after 13 seasons. No other guy in Major League Baseball history has gone 13 seasons into his career without a selection, and now in this 13th year has that selection.
I think that guy is very underrated for a very long time.
I agree. I mean, he did play for an Orioles squad that was always, for the fringing on 500 back in the day, just about like a few years ago, and then he's been on the Braves for a couple years now. So, it's great to see him participate, and actually not just participate but start in the All-Star game. Crawford from my hometown team, the San Francisco Giants, your starting shortstop for the National League, batting 8th. Wilson Contreras from the Cubs, catching and batting 9th. Max Scherzer will be starting for the National League for the second consecutive year. The Scherzer versus Sale matchup. That was the case last year. This is the first time that a repeat matchup has been taking place in the All-Star game since the 39 and 1940 All-Star games between Red Ruffin and Paul Derringer. So interesting stuff. Who do you like in the All-Star game? I mean, actually,
we'll get to that in our next segment.
Yeah, we'll get to that on our best picks. Eric, will he surprise you? Will it just be all right, it's a no-brainer decision? I'll have my best bet and all that when we come back to the Easy-E and Scuba Steve show here on Spreaker.com in affiliation with the National Sports Radio Station.
Hey, you here again?
Yeah, my doctor told me to reduce stress at work, so I come to Buffalo Wild Wings to eat lunch and watch sports. I get to pick one of 7 entrees, like sandwiches and salads, plus one of 7 sides.
Well, I like sides.
It's so affordable I can finally take a vacation.
Where you gonna go?
Here, Tim, here.
Introducing the new B-Dubs Fast Break Lunch Menu, starting at a new low price. Dine in or order takeout weekdays between 11 and 2. Participation and availability may vary. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Oh, you haven't tried the KFC Dunked Wings? So you must be Sarah then. Sarah has no short-term memory. She was gonna get some wings when she forgot her wallet at home. But then she forgot why she went home. Also, she didn't know where home was. And why is she in Istanbul when she lives in Kyalami? She doesn't know. But she does know that she will one day taste the Dunked Wings. She has an excuse. If you're not her, then you have no excuse. Get the KFC Dunked Wings for only $21.90. KFC, so good.
Genuine Ford Parts and Service presents a word from your wallet.
Are we at the gas station? Oh.
Yeah, I know. I'm feeling these gas prices, too.
I'm the wallet down here. Head to a Ford dealership.
Why?
Proper vehicle maintenance. A new air filter can save 19 cents a gallon. Correct tire inflation up to 6 cents a gallon.
Wow, that sure adds up.
Fat wallets are very in right now.
Right now, Motorcraft air filter replacement is just $19.95 or less. Replacing a dirty air filter can increase fuel economy by as much as 10%.
Well, done. That was easy.
Maybe you should listen to your wallet more often.
Well, you're typically pretty quiet.
Well, I didn't want to be a pain in the...
Hurry in for the best deals we've had in years. Money-saving rebates on brakes, batteries, tires, and more. See your participating Ford dealer today.
Thank you for tuning in to our final segment of this edition of the Easy-E and Scuba Steve show. I'll give Easy-E the mic for his best pick.
All right, my best bet is for the American League to win the All-Star game. I think it's minus 130. I mean, I just think their lineup is so much better than the National League. I mean, I really don't see any weakness there. Like, the fact that Aaron Judge and Machado are batting 6th and 7th is just crazy to me. I'm not sure if this will be a low scoring or high high-scoring game, but I really like the American League at minus 130 to win this game. What's your best bet?
My best pick goes back to the home run derby. If you want to make some money, Jesus Aguilar at minus 155 to win his first round match. Definitely go for that. I see no chance for Hoskins to win this. And I mean, let's do like a two-parter, I guess. I mean, the home run derby, the first round means really nothing. Javier Baez is now at plus 145 to win his matchup against Max Muncy. I don't know why Vegas is putting so much on Max Muncy, but he's not going to win it. I think Javier Baez is going to win it. So I'll make it a two-parter, a two-pick, best pick. I got Jesus Aguilar and Javier Baez to win their first-round matchups in the home run derby that starts in an hour and a half. So if you're listening to this, get on those odds.
All right, that is it for the Easy E and Scuba Steve show today. It is Monday, July 16th. It is 3:30 Western Time, 6:30 Eastern Time. We will see you guys in the future. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in to the Scuba Steve show. I'm kidding. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to the Easy E and Scuba Steve show. If you'd like to ask us any questions, request any songs, request teams that we should talk about, let us know in the comments section of each episode.